Birmingham, charges announced after a man was hit by a car and killed. Officers say that Shatisse Jackson ran over McKis Bostic after an argument at an Easter gathering on Lisa Lane.
Easter Sunday, a father crushed to death between an SUV and his own home, not by a stranger, by the mother of his children. And his kids were watching. Birmingham, Alabama, Lisa Lane, a place where families gather, where laughter should fill the air, where Easter baskets sit on porches and kids run through yards in their Sunday best. But on this particular Easter, in early 2025, the celebration turned into a nightmare. His name was McKis James Bostic. Friends called him Big B. He was a juvenile detention officer at the G. Ross Bell Center, the kind of guy who made troubled kids smile, who cracked jokes in the break room, who walked colleagues to their cars just to make sure they got there safe. A father of 5, a man whose entire career was built around protecting children. And then came the argument. An argument with Shatisse Renee Jackson, his longtime girlfriend, the mother of his children, 31 years old, someone he trusted, someone he loved. She left, walked away from the party, but then she came back. What happened next is almost too brutal to say out loud. She allegedly fired a shot. Maybe it missed, maybe it didn't, but that wasn't the end of it. She got into her SUV, started the engine, and drove it straight into him. McKis was pinned, wedged between 2 tons of metal in the wall of his own home. He died right there, on Easter Sunday, while his children watched. Stay with me until the very end, because I'm going to give you 2 powerful, potentially life-saving tips on how to recognize and escape domestic violence before it's too late. Drop your tips in the comments below. Someone out there might need to hear them. So what turned an Easter celebration into a crime scene? And why didn't anyone see it coming? Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries and the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive. They called him Big B, and if you worked at the G. Ross Bell Juvenile Detention Center, you knew exactly why. McKis Bostic wasn't just an employee, he was the soul of the place. Executive Director Monique Greer said it best. He was the heart of this place. When Big B walked into a room, smiles followed. Daniel Perry, one of his colleagues, remembered how McKis had an incredible way of being a shining light. The guy had jokes for days. He'd tease you, mess with you, give you a hard time. But here's the thing. If he didn't give you a hard time, he didn't really care for you. That was his love language. That's how you knew you mattered to him. Jefferson County Commissioner Sheila Tyson, she remembers McKis walking her to her car after long days at the facility. Just a small gesture, but it spoke volumes about who he was. Protective, thoughtful, the kind of man who showed up not just for the paycheck, but because he genuinely cared. Inside those walls, McKis worked with kids most people had given up on. Troubled youth, kids who'd made mistakes, kids who needed someone to believe in them. And McKis, he was that someone. He made them laugh. He held them accountable. He gave them hope. But outside of work, his life was just as full. 5 children, 5 reasons to wake up every morning and keep pushing. He wasn't perfect, but he was present. He was dad. And for those kids, that meant everything. Now let's talk about Shatisse Renee Jackson, born November 9th, 1994, 31 years old. She wasn't just some girlfriend. She was the mother of his children. They'd built a life together, years of memories, birthdays, holidays, sleepless nights with newborns. The kind of history that ties people together even when things get messy. But here's what nobody talks about enough. You can spend every day protecting other people's kids and still be vulnerable in your own home. You can be the guy everyone leans on at work and still not see the danger sitting right across the dinner table. Because the man who spent every day keeping troubled kids safe, he couldn't protect himself from what was coming. Have you ever known someone who seemed to have it all together at work, but their personal life was falling apart? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you believe that people like McKis, people who dedicate their lives to helping others, deserve to be protected too, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because the warning signs were there, And maybe if we learn to recognize them, we can stop the next tragedy. Easter Sunday 2025. A birthday party, family gathered, and then an argument. Lisa Lane was supposed to be a safe space that day. Easter baskets, cake, relatives catching up, kids running around in their nice clothes, probably already stained with frosting and grass. It was one of those double celebrations. Easter and somebody's birthday rolled into one. The kind of day that should end with full bellies and tired smiles. But somewhere between the laughter and the small talk, something shifted. McKis and Shatis got into it. We don't know what sparked it. Maybe it was something small that grew teeth. Maybe it had been building for weeks. But whatever it was, it got loud enough, heated enough, that Shatis decided to leave. She walked out, got in her car, drove away. And for a moment, maybe people exhaled. Maybe they thought, okay, she's cooling off. Give it some time. Let things settle. But here's the part that changes everything. She didn't just leave, she came back. Think about that for a second. That window of time between walking out and turning the car around. What goes through someone's mind in those minutes? Is it rage? Is it humiliation? Is it something that's been festering so long that it finally boils over? Whatever it was, when Shatis returned, she wasn't coming back to apologize. Police reports say she may have fired a shot at McKis. Maybe it hit, maybe it didn't. But the fact that a gun was even involved tells you where her mind was. This wasn't about talking it out anymore. This was about harm, about ending something. And the whole time, the children were right there, hearing the yelling, hearing the chaos, watching their mother and father in a moment that no child should ever witness. And then she got in her SUV, and McKis had no idea what was about to happen next. Why do you think so many domestic violence incidents happen during holidays or family gatherings? What is it about those moments that trigger the worst? Tell me in the comments. Now, if you're not going to subscribe, I genuinely want to know why. Drop a comment and tell me, is there something we should be doing differently? Because if you're still here watching, something made you stay.
Breaking right now in Birmingham, a woman is in custody after Birmingham police say she ran over a man and shot him. CBS 42 reporter Scott Minshaw breaks down what led up to this deadly Easter incident.
Just before 10 p.m. on Sunday night, officers were called to Lisa Lane near the Roebuck Springs neighborhood. Officer Truman Fitzgerald says a domestic dispute occurred during a birthday party and Easter celebration at a home.
I was told that the female suspect retrieved the gun and fired shots in the house.
The situation quickly changed.
Officers were updated that a female was trying to run over a male in a vehicle. Officers arrived on scene when they learned that the female suspect did in fact run over the male. He was trapped between the vehicle and a house.
The man died at the scene. The female suspect, who police say was in a relationship with the man, was quickly taken into custody by officers.
A horrible fact that I just learned within the past few minutes is that there was possibly children that the couple shares in common that was inside the vehicle when the suspect ran over the victim.
Police say the children were not hurt and are currently in the care of the Birmingham Police Department.
She didn't just hit him with the car. She pinned him, crushed him between 2 tons of metal and the wall of his own home. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a moment of poor judgment or a split-second mistake. Shatis Renee Jackson allegedly aimed that SUV directly at McKis Bostic and pressed the gas pedal. The impact was catastrophic. McKis was wedged, trapped between the front end of the vehicle and the structure of the house. There was no escape, no chance to move, no time to react. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Try to wrap your head around that for a second. A man who spent his days keeping kids safe, who made people laugh, who walked colleagues to their cars out of kindness, killed in his own driveway, on a holiday, surrounded by family and his children. They saw it happen. They watched their father take his last breath. They heard the engine rev. They saw the impact. They lived through a trauma that will follow them for the rest of their lives. Birmingham police took Shatis into custody shortly after. The evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses everywhere. The scene spoke for itself. But here's where the law steps in with full force. Shatis wasn't just charged with murder. She was charged with capital murder. You might be wondering, what's the difference? In Alabama, capital murder isn't just about taking a life. It's about the circumstances that make the crime even more heinous. And one of those circumstances? When a child witnesses the intentional killing of their parent. That's not just a legal technicality, it's the state recognizing that those children are victims too. They didn't just lose their father, they lost their sense of safety, their innocence, their ability to trust the world around them. The law treats that as an aggravating factor, something so harmful, so destructive, that it elevates the charge to the highest level. Capital murder carries the possibility of life without parole, in some cases even the death penalty. But here's what haunts me most about this case. The children didn't just lose their father that day. If you were a neighbor and heard the commotion, would you call the police? Or would you assume it's just a family fight and stay out of it? Be honest. Comment below. If this story is making you angry, if you believe that no child should ever have to witness something like this, then hit that like button and share this video. Not for me, but for McKis, because his voice was silenced that Easter Sunday. But ours don't have to be.
And family and friends are honoring McKis Bostic, a father Birmingham police say was intentionally run over by the mother of his children on Easter. Brady Talbert was at an emotional memorial held at a spot where loved ones say he made a real impact.
McKis Bostic, or Big B, used to work here at the Jefferson County Youth Detention Center. But staff here say he wasn't just a co-worker or a friend, he was family.
When they mentioned that no one was exempt from being cracked on, I was included in that. And so he would find a way to make you laugh.
Loved ones releasing balloons in front of the building where Bostic changed lives. He was a juvenile detention officer here. The director says he had a special connection with the kids that wound up in this facility.
He was 27 years old. He could relate to them. He was young enough to still have relatability to them, but old enough to still be able to hold them accountable. And they had a lot of respect for him.
But unfortunately, he won't be coming back here. Bostic was killed on Easter after police say the mother of his children, Shatise Renee Jackson, intentionally drove into him. Police say it happened during an Easter celebration and birthday party. Investigators say Bostic was wedged between the vehicle and a home on Lisa Lane. Jefferson County Commissioner Sheila Tyson says this is a painful reminder domestic violence comes in all forms.
Domestic violence is real, and it doesn't only happen to women. Men go through domestic violence too, and they need treatment.
Authorities believe some of Bostic's children witnessed the crime. The center gifting his kids these Build-A-Bears Friday night, a commitment they'll show up for them.
That's not the end of it. You know, we have already been planning, for the Christmas holidays, what we're going to do for the children. For our summer lunch program, we're going to try to make sure they get over here for the summer lunch program, just to give them something to do.
April 24th, 2025, 2:22 p.m., Shatise Renee Jackson was officially booked into Jefferson County Jail. Date of birth, November 9th, 1994. 31 years old, Birmingham resident, and now a woman facing one of the most serious charges in the entire criminal justice system. She was first brought before Judge William Bale, then transferred to Judge Hudson for a bond hearing, and Judge Hudson didn't hesitate. He ordered Shatise held without bond. $0. No possibility of release. That's not standard procedure for every arrest. But for capital offenses, especially when the evidence is this strong, when witnesses saw what happened, when children can testify to what they watched their mother do, the court doesn't take chances. You stay locked up until trial. Meanwhile, Birmingham police continued working the case, interviewing witnesses, reviewing the scene, building a file that would stand up in court, because this wasn't just about getting an arrest. It was about making sure justice stuck. But while the legal system moved forward, something else was happening. Something that reminded everyone watching that this case wasn't just about courtrooms and charges. It was about a man, a father, a human being who mattered. Jefferson County Commissioner Sheila Tyson spoke publicly about McKise's death, and she said something that needs to be heard more often. Domestic violence is real, and it doesn't only happen to women. Let that sit for a second. We talk about domestic violence all the time. Awareness campaigns, hotlines, shelters. And that's important. But how often do we acknowledge that men can be victims too? That they can be trapped, abused, and killed by people they love? The truth is, male victims face an uphill battle. Society expects them to be strong, to handle it, to not be weak enough to get hurt by a woman. And because of that, they're less likely to report, less likely to seek help, more likely to suffer in silence until it's too late. Mickes deserve better. And so do the countless other men living through situations just like his. But his colleagues at the G. Ross Bell Juvenile Detention Center, they weren't going to let his memory fade. They rallied around his 5 children. They organized a memorial service, and during that service, they released balloons into the sky. One balloon, a heart-shaped one, didn't float away with the others. It hovered right there over the awning of the building. Just stayed. Executive Director Monique Greer said it felt like McKis was watching over them, over his work family, over his biological family. And then there were the Build-A-Bears. 3 of McKis' children attended the memorial, and the staff wanted to give them something tangible, something they could hold on to when the grief felt too heavy. The smallest child got a Paw Patrol Officer bear, a nod to McKis' career in law enforcement. Another child received a bear dressed in Miami Heat basketball gear because McKis loved the game. And his baby girl, she got a princess bear with a crown, because to him, that's exactly what she was. But the support didn't stop there. The staff at the detention center committed to staying involved in these kids' lives. Christmas celebrations, summer lunch programs, ongoing emotional support. They weren't just honoring McKis' memory, they were stepping in to help raise the children he left behind. Now, I promised you 2 tips. Here they are. Tip 1. Document everything. Texts, emails, photos, threatening voicemails. Not because you're planning to leave, but because if the day comes when you need proof to save your life or get protection, you'll have it. Keep it somewhere safe. Cloud storage. A trusted friend's house. Somewhere they can't delete it. Tip 2. Have a safety plan. A code word with a friend or family member that means, I'm in danger, call for help. A bag packed with essentials, ID, cash, medication, change of clothes, hidden where they won't find it. An escape route planned out. It sounds extreme until it's not. And by then, it might be too late. Now it's your turn. Drop your tip in the comments. What's one thing people should know? What's one red flag you've learned to recognize? Let's build a resource together that could actually save someone's life. But there's one detail about this case that still keeps me up at night. Do you think the system does enough to protect male victims of domestic violence? Or are we so focused on one narrative that we're letting people like McKis fall through the cracks? Tell me what you think.
Also breaking right now, in a Birmingham homicide case, Shatise Jackson, a 30-year-old mother, is facing a capital murder charge after police say she ran over 27-year-old McKis Bostic, the father of her children, during a gathering on Easter Sunday.
And today she made her first court appearance. ABC 3340's Gracie Johnson was in the courtroom. And Gracie, what happened?
Muriel, Shatise Jackson appeared in court this morning for the first time since her arrest. She was initially brought before Judge William Bell, but the case was moved to Judge Hudson for a bond hearing. In that hearing, Judge Hudson told Jackson she's charged with capital murder and will be held on no bond. Jackson mentioned that her family plans to hire an attorney, but has not named the attorney just yet. The charge comes after a violent scene Sunday night on Lisa Lane. Birmingham police say Jackson and Bostic, who share children, got into an argument during a birthday party that was also an Easter gathering. Allegedly, she left, came back, may have fired a shot, and then hit Bostic with her vehicle, trapping him against a house. He died on the scene. And at least one child may have been present during this incident. Now, Jackson is being held in the Jefferson County Jail on no bond. Muriel.
All right, Gracie, is there any word on when the next court date might be for her?
A date for Jackson's preliminary hearing has not been set yet. Now, that hearing will determine if the case proceeds to trial. Meanwhile, the Birmingham Police Department says it continues to interview witnesses and review evidence from the scene.
Here's what haunts me most about McKis' story. A man who spent every single day protecting vulnerable youth, kids who'd been written off, kids who'd made mistakes, kids who just needed someone to believe in them, couldn't protect himself from the person he trusted most. That's the cruel irony. McKis knew how to de-escalate tense situations. He knew how to read people. He worked in an environment where one wrong move could mean chaos. And yet, when it came to his own life, his own home, none of that training could save him. But his colleagues refused to let his story end there. They're planning something called Miles for McKis, a 5K walk and run that'll take place during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's not just about honoring him, it's about making sure his death means something, that it sparks conversations, that it forces people to acknowledge what we so often ignore. Because here's the thing, McKis's 5 children are growing up without their father now. They'll never hear his laugh again, never get one of his famous jokes, never feel him walk them to the car just to make sure they're safe. And they had to watch him die. That's a weight no child should carry, but they're carrying it every single day. As of right now, Shatisse Jackson is sitting in Jefferson County Jail, awaiting trial on capital murder charges. The legal process will take months, maybe years. There will be hearings, arguments, testimonies, and at the end of it all, a jury will decide what justice looks like in this case. But the bigger question, the one that keeps me up at night, is this. How many other people are living in situations just like McKis's right now? How many men are being controlled, threatened, hurt by someone they love, but won't speak up because they're afraid of being judged, afraid of being seen as weak, afraid no one will believe them? Domestic violence doesn't care about your gender. It doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care how much money you make or where you live. It happens behind closed doors in every community, and the only way we stop it is by talking about it. All of it, not just the stories that fit the narrative we're comfortable with. Mickese was known for his smile, for making people laugh, for being the heart of a place that deals with troubled kids every single day. He gave his energy to helping others, and in the end, the person who took his life was someone he loved, someone he built a family with. To McKis's family, his 5 children, and everyone at the G. Ross Bell Juvenile Detention Center, we're so deeply sorry. He deserves so much more. And his memory deserves to spark real change. So here's my question for you. What's your take on this? Did the system fail McKis? Could someone have done more? Should we be talking about male victims of domestic violence more openly? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading every single one. If you believe that stories like McKis's deserve to be told, that his life mattered, that his children's trauma matters, that we need to stop treating domestic violence like it only goes one way, then subscribe and turn on that bell notification, because there are too many voices that have been silenced. You never know who's watching. You never know whose life you might help save. Thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.